Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with an Ezreal updated complete guide for the latest patch 4.3. And of course, as usual, don't forget to refer to the Ezreal basic guide we did some time ago now. That's of course for his skills, leveling order, tips and tricks, as well as combos. I'm gonna put that up in the cards above. So anyways, let's jump straight into it. So Ezreal's build itself hasn't really changed much, but the main thing that changed is of course the new runes. So we're gonna quickly cover the build first. So first up we have Mana Immune. Of course, this gives you ability haste mana as well as ability power. When you evolve it to the mirror mana, you get of course the increased spell damage as well as basic attack damage. Of course, this is really good in conjunction with your Q, as well as basically everything else of course. Next we have Triforce. Triforce of course gives you more ability haste, a little bit of attack speed, health as well as AD. A little bit of movement speed as well, and from the Rage passive even more movement speed, but we mainly take it for the Spellblade passive, which of course allows us to deal bonus physical damage on hit. So this of course once again works with your Q. So this is basically going to increase the damage of your Q, and generally when you play Ezreal you want to start off with a longsword first, and on your first back you get a tear, and if you can you get a sheen. So that's kind of the build order for Ezreal. I believe I have that on somewhere else here. This is the build order for Ezreal. So you go for a longsword into tear into sheen, and then you go for your completed items. So for boots on Ezreal, you actually have two options. You can either go for Ionian Boots of Lucidity for ability haste and a little bit of health, as well as reducing your spell cooldowns by a little bit. Of course, this already gives 20, this is 25, and you have more ability haste on all of your items as well. So what some people like to take on Ezreal now is actually the Boots of Mana, and there's two reasons for this. The first reason is you get a lot of mana. As you get the mana regeneration, you're basically never going to run out of mana, although I don't think Ezreal has the biggest mana issues. But the second thing is you actually get magic penetration, and Ezreal does a lot of magic damage, because if you guys didn't know, his W, his E, and his ult all does magic damage. So the magic penetration is actually pretty good on Ezreal, so this is also an option for Ezreal. And for your boot enchantment, you generally just go for stasis. You don't need Proto Belt, or mostly don't need QSS as well. So aside from that, next up you go for Seralda's Grudge. Get the AD, the ability haste, the armor penetration, and most of all the slow. Now you can actually swap this around with our next item, Riftmaker. If you want Riftmaker earlier, gives you health, AD, ability haste, and you mostly get it for the 2 passive, which is of course the Omnivamp, as well as the Void Corruption, which allows you to do a little bit of true damage. And finally, as your last item, you get Blade of the Rune King. Once again, more lifesteal, attack speed, AD, and of course the on-hit health, current health damage, as well as the Drain passive. So here is where it gets interesting. We go into the runes. So for the runes, we're gonna go actually for First Strike. And the reason why we go for this is Ezreal, with his long range and his poke, is able to proc First Strike very easily, and of course off of that you can get extra damage and extra gold. Furthermore, First Strike is really strong as a rune at the moment, and it hasn't really been nerfed yet, although I do think it will be. So it's just really strong, and you have to go for First Strike basically all the time. So you of course go for Precision, and you go for Brutal, increasing your on-hit damage. This also works on your Q, because your Q procs on-hit effects. Then you go for Coup de Grace, of course, to deal bonus damage against champions who are low, or you can also go for Giant Slayer if the enemy team is tanky. And then of course you go for Bloodline, of course, to get the Omnivamp. And for the secondary rune, I like to actually take Bone Plating. Of course, this helps me in lane with of course enemies attacking me, and also later on in the game against combos. Now, technically speaking, Ezreal is a very defensive champion, so you don't necessarily need this. So if you want to go for something more offensive, you could go Domination instead. You could go Scorch for of course more poke, or you could go for something like the Eyeball Collection if you prefer, but honestly the secondary rune is mostly personal preference. And for the spells, you always want to go for Exhaust and Flash. You don't need Ghost, of course, because you're very mobile with your E already, so Exhaust is going to help you against assassins and in like 1v1s, or like in lane for example. So all that out of the way, let's jump into talking about our gameplay. Okay, so now moving into the gameplay section of the video, of course, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Any questions, queries, or remarks, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Okay, so first discussion point of the video is why First Strike and not like Conqueror or Kraken Slayer. Now, Both Conqueror and Kraken Slayer are amazing on Ezreal, but so is First Strike. So why is First Strike the best rune at the moment? Well, the answer is pretty simple. In my opinion, First Strike at the moment is really broken. You get, of course, a lot of increased damage, and the gold that you get is a lot. So if you take a look at PC League, the amount of gold you get in like lane when you take First Strike is really little. So First Strike is more of like a mid-game to late-game rune where when you hit mid-game, like maybe you have 1 or 2 items, it gives you a ton of gold. Which it still does in Wild Rift, but the difference is that in lane, it's actually giving you a lot more gold. When I say a lot more gold, I don't mean it gives you a lot of gold. It still doesn't give you that much. Generally, you don't get anything more than 100. But what I mean to say is that in Wild Rift, it's giving you a lot more gold than what it would in PC, which is also why you can see here my Seraphine also has First Strike, because like the gold you farm off of First Strike is just so insane that like anyone who can take First Strike should more or less be taking First Strike. So that's pretty much what we're doing here. So here we pretty much have an all-in. I exhausted the Varus to prevent him from doing damage, and that First Strike actually helped me to secure the First Blood, because without that extra damage, I don't think I'm going to be killing the Nautilus in this situation. So First Strike, I think at the current moment is just too amazing of a rune to not take it. Now of course, this doesn't mean you take First Strike on every single ADC, but I do think that on any ADC or any champion, in fact, that can take First Strike, you probably should. Even like mid lane champions and whatnot, because First Strike traditionally is mostly for like junglers, especially like assassin style junglers, and certain few mid laners like Annie or like Jace. But honestly, at this point, like anyone can take First Strike, like Diana can take First Strike or whatnot, because First Strike is just so strong at the moment. Now Ezreal with First Strike has always sort of been a thing, but normally he has better options. Of course, that being Conqueror, as well as of course also the Kraken Slayer. So those technically should be better options than First Strike, but just because, as I mentioned, First Strike is a very strong rune at the moment, so you do want to just take First Strike on whoever you can take First Strike on. So with all that like First Strike discussion out of the way, we can actually just start talking a little bit more about the gameplay now. Of course, the runes are pretty standard ADC runes, and the build is pretty much just the same. Of course, we're not going for Essence Reaver in this build. Essence Reaver in Ezreal builds, to me, it's sort of a little bit of like personal preference. Now, personally, I don't quite like taking Essence Reaver in my build, because although it increases like my damage on my Q, I think that you're losing out on a lot of other things you could have gotten. Because for example, you go like Mana Mune and you go Triforce, and then you go for Essence Reaver, or sometimes you go Essence Reaver first and then into Mana Mune and Triforce. But compared to other items like, of course, our Serala's Grudge, our like Riftmaker, and our Blade of the Rune King, I think that Essence Reaver gives you a lot less in terms of like what it can actually get you. Because like Riftmaker gives you like extra true damage and Omnivamp, and like the Serala's Grudge gives you that amazing slow, and like the Blade of the Rune King gives you the like damage against tanks, the like on-hit health damage, which of course works on your Q as well, and also gives you the Vamp. Whereas like Essence Reaver is basically just pure damage. Now that's not always necessarily bad. It's good. It's good, and it's good in some situations, which is why I say that it's basically a little bit of personal preference. So you can see now in lane, a WQ gives me like 16 gold, which is honestly really little, but it's way more than PC, as I mentioned, and First Strike just scales very well into, of course, the later stages of the game, and it's just really strong of a rune at the moment. So here, all we're doing is we're just farming the minions, nothing too much. We're against, of course, a Nautilus as well as a Varus, so they have a very strong all-in potential with like the Varus ult and like with Nautilus engage. So we're basically just playing pretty safe. Me and Seraphine are a very poking style lane. Veigar roams, tries to flash and cage someone, but doesn't quite work. I use my ult to try to get a little bit of damage down, doesn't quite work either. Nautilus is actually really low, but of course really difficult to actually hit him here. So instead, we're just going to take advantage of the fact that Nautilus can be in lane and he has the back, and we're just going to pick up a tower plate here. Of course, you don't necessarily always have to get kills in lane. Sometimes you just need to sort of accrue advantages in one way or the other. If you can't kill them, then just get minions, deny their minions, you know, get gold from the tower, etc. And you know, not too much else that we can do. So we're just going to do exactly that, what I just mentioned. And here we have completed our Mana Mune, we have our boots as well as our Sheen. Now in this particular match, the boots I'm going for is going to be the Lucidity boots, but of course, as I mentioned, the the magic pen boots work really well as well. And I think on most situations the magic pen boots probably just better, because you already have a lot of ability haste. You don't necessarily need even more ability haste. So regardless, we're just gonna go ahead and contest this first dragon. Of course, dragon is up. Everyone is here. It's a dragon party as usual. And here, honestly, we don't know where Shyvana is, so she might actually be doing the Herald instead. Who knows? But here we're getting a nice ult across everyone. We do secure the dragon. I get pretty much comboed by Yone, and now I'm kind of on the run, going to go around here. I exhaust the Akali, who dives in onto me. I try to flash over, but Akali Q actually picks up a double kill on both me and the Veigar, which is really unfortunate. Shyvana comes in late to the party. Wasn't even at Herald, don't know where she was, but here Shyvana's ulted, she's gone in, she's killing people, killing the Seraphine as well. Picks up a double, but Garen manages to trade it eventually. So eventually, over the long course of the whole fight, basically we end up trading 4 for 5, and we also picked up a dragon, or rather 4 for 4, and we also got a dragon. So overall, it's kind of more positive for my team, and it ends up going pretty well. So now we're back in lane. We can see there's a huge wave sort of accruing. Of course, my Seraphine has rotated to the Herald. Now, because my Seraphine isn't actually around, so I don't want to play too aggressively. Now she's kind of making her way back to the lane, but even so, we just want to play safe until we have our support here, because if we get engaged on by Varus and Nautilus, we can get one shot, which is obviously not what we want. So here we're just going to clear out the wave first. Now, of course, playing against a Varus, and when you have first strike, it's a little bit annoying because Varus can easily remove the first strike with an arrow. Speaking of Varus, arrows, I'm actually going to do a Varus first strike video tomorrow, so stay tuned for that one. It's going to be a banger game. We go full lethality first strike Varus, and we just one-shot anybody we see. Of course, you guys will see that game tomorrow. So anyways, here all we're doing is just clearing out the minions. Honestly, of course, neutral game, not too much interesting going on. And now we're 1-1 and 2, still nothing too much interesting happening. Dragon fight went pretty alright. I wouldn't call it successful by any means, but it went alright. So here we have picked up our Ionian Boots of Lucidity. 30 ability haste is of course huge. Unfortunately, the Seraphine was not able to back and does get engaged upon and ends up dying. Here Fiora actually comes in. Here I get a good ult across both the Varus and the Nautilus, and we get a huge 77 gold off of that. I get the kill onto the Varus, and then we're going to move on to Nautilus. The Fiora actually gives me the kill onto Nautilus as well, so we pick up a double, really nice of the Fiora. And she even drops down the Herald to try to, of course, secure the tower for us. So here we actually do manage to secure the tower. And we can see here on the map that the other 3 members of the team are in the top side. So what we can do here is we don't actually have to stop pushing, we can just keep going, because Varus and Nautilus have only just respawned, and the other 3 members of the team is in the topside river. So here you can see I'm focusing the tier 2 tower now, and you can see that the Herald is able to actually finish off the tower. Here I'm going to hop over the wall to escape, and as a bonus, Varus just ends up launching his ult right at me as I jump, and he ends up wasting his ult completely. So really good chain of events here, huge amount of gold injection for us. We're not at 7k gold, most in the game together with Garen, and we're in a really good spot. Here we're just going to ult down the Akali and secure the kill. We get hooked by Nautilus, but he ults the Veigar instead, so we're able to escape safely. Veigar is fine as well, and overall, we're still just doing really well, and the game's going pretty smoothly for my team so far. Now here Yone goes in, so I'm just going to stick around to deal a bit of damage to him. Here you can see objective bounties are available for the enemy team. So this is of course a new mechanic in this latest patch. But basically, whenever your enemy team has objective bounties, you generally want to try to deny them as much as possible. Don't have to commit too much to denying them, but if you're able to, you should try to deny objective bounties. Here Akali tries to go in. I exhaust her immediately, but she basically just one-shot Seraphine. I'm able to pick up the kill. Afterwards, Yone comes in next. I'm able to get the ult onto him, and I'm going to have to run because I'm really low. But you can see I got 86 gold from the first strike there. I already have my Triforce completed in one shot. Of course, we did have the Sheen, but we have our Triforce completed now. We have our Manamune completed as well. So here we're going to have a very huge power spike because we have both of our first 2 items. Of course, we also get the evolution. Now you can see bot lane tower is actually really low, so you can see Veigar and Garen are doing the correct thing by pushing out the bot lane and preventing the enemy team from picking up bot lane tower. Top lane, of course, is already pretty pushed out, and here we got mid lane parity. We're just gonna rotate over to the dragon and pick up the dragon together with Fiora. Now that that's done, just gonna go back mid and see what we can do. Trying to get some tower damage, able to get just a little bit of tower damage, and here we're trying to force down this tower. Enemy team not in position to defend, so we do end up securing that mid lane tower, and after that we can basically just back off. No reason to like force too much. And yeah, honestly nothing too interesting is honestly happening here at the moment. But here you can see the whole enemy team is relatively relatively? They're basically just mid, no relative there. But here they're all mid. So here we're dodging the Varus arrow to prevent him from removing our first strike, and we're just staying mid together with Seraphine and just farming. Nothing too much going on here. Veigar and Garen are in the top lane. And once again, you can see 3 people in mid. They are now all roaming the top. So Veigar and Garen are in trouble. They're going to encounter the entire enemy team, as you guys can see here. So they look like they're getting caught. So hopefully they're able to get out fine. Not much I can really do here. I can run straight to the fight as fast as I can to try to help out my team. I'm going to launch a ult from downtown to try to help them out. Ends up hitting nobody. But I end up being able to cut off the escape of the Akali as well as the Varus. We are able to pick up the kill on Varus. I wasn't too confident about jumping at Akali because of course Akali can just kill me, so I don't really want to do that. Of course she doesn't actually have her ult anymore, so arguably it was not that risky. But yeah, jumping at an assassin is never something I want to do on Ezreal. So here Yone tries to go in once again, and he basically just dies. Here we're going to try to force down this tier 2 tower, but Nautilus is here to defend, so we're not really able to do that. But here Fiora is now in, and we're going to see if we can perhaps try to once again force the tower. Here I spot Shyvana just walking away, and I just randomly throw her out in that general direction of where I think she will walk, and it actually hits her, which is probably my proudest snipe I've ever done, because this was completely blind and I'm just guessing her position, and it actually hit, which I can't believe it, but I managed to get that kill. If you guys don't want to know what I'm talking about, you can just replay like from 5 seconds before I got the kill, and you can see Shyvana on the minimap. I'm securing a kill onto my team, and I managed to somehow just snipe her out, which is like kind of bonkers. But anyways, here we're now back to reality. Trying to help my team fight off the enemy. Seraphine's pretty low, but she does of course have those shields and heals, so she's fine. Varus ult was already expended in that fight, as was Yone out, so it's a lot safer for me to step up and put in some damage, because those 2 ults are not there to catch me out anymore. And here we're just basically hovering around our team. We don't really want to just show on vision for no reason. Now we're clearing the wave, but if possible you should just hide and not show on vision, so that the enemy team won't know where you are, and they will have to play around the fact that you could be there at any time. So here Yone once again tries to go in on Seraphine. He's taking a lot of damage and not quite enough to kill Seraphine. Varus arrow is not enough either, so Seraphine's able to get out just fine and is able to back. So here you can see I have a longsword. I was initially intending to actually go for the Seralda's Grudge first, but I decided that this match Riftmaker first would probably be better. And the reason why I say that is because Seralda's Grudge is normally really good for kiting champions down. Now, Yone is not really kiteable because he can, he has so many dashes. Akali isn't either because of her dashes. The most kiteable champion is probably only like Shyvana, most likely. But honestly, it's only her, so the value from Riftmaker is a lot higher than the value that I can get from Seralda's, which is why I decided to go for the Riftmaker first. And so here Shyvana's dead. I'm just pushing out the wave. My team ends up in another fight, and I'm going to have to head over to try to help them. I spot Akali alone. I'm trying to dash over to deal damage to her. I pick up the kill onto Nautilus, and my whole team is now just together deathballing. Nautilus and Yone have been picked, and Shyvana has respawned, so It's at the moment a 5v3, and honestly I think it's going to be a pretty good time to actually just pick up Baron. But obviously my team is not really doing that at the moment, so I'm going to just push together my Seraphine mid, and Garen can push top, secure more objectives, get more gold. Here Akali goes in again. I try to exhaust her, but once again not able to save the Seraphine. Just, you know, getting a little bit of damage to get more gold from my first strike, and that's just about all that I'm able to do. Now here Shyvana ends up getting caught at her blue buff. We're able to, I think we're able to kill her off. Let's see. Yep, able to kill her off. Didn't even need to out there, and she is once again taken down. So honestly, at this point, it's pretty textbook game. We're really strong already. We're 7-1-4, 13k gold, by far the most in the game, and we are pretty much able to kill whoever we want. Of course, we still don't want to recklessly jump in anywhere, but aside from doing something stupid, we can basically just start blasting people down already. So here, get the red buff share, and just go ahead and get more items. But yeah, honestly, again, not too much of a challenge at this point. All we need to do is work together with our team to close out the game. Launching my ult straight down mid lane. I was intending to try to hit. I did actually end up hitting Varus. So here you can see 81 gold from the ult in the mid game. Pretty decent for hitting only one guy with the ult. If I hit like the whole team with the ult, that's like close to 500 gold already. But here Seraphine hits a good ult of her own. I dash forward, finish off Nautilus, finish off Varus, and enemy red buff is here. Pick up enemy red buff, and Veigar goes over, tries to kill Yone. I'm hopping over, helping to take him out. Only Akali and Shyvana are left at this point, and it's just pretty much at this point just rolling over the enemies. So nothing too much to discuss here. I'm gonna secure the tower, and here Fiora is on Baron. So here you can see Shyvana is trying to split push. So we need to send Garen back to actually stop her. Garen's channeling recall. Here we're gonna have to help Fiora take this Baron because she can't do it on her own. So here me and Seraphine are coming over to help. 3-man Baron should be pretty simple. Seraphine heals up the Fiora to prevent her from dying to the Baron, which would be catastrophic. But with that, we are able to secure the Baron. And Elder Dragon is actually coming up in just about half a minute. But honestly, we don't really even need Elder Dragon. We can just use Baron to force down the end. And if enemy team commits to Elder Dragon, we can actually just end the game with the Baron. But either way, we'll see if we end up fighting for Elder Dragon. We do have triple Drake at this point, so we are pretty strong as a team. Now here Shyvana makes a huge mistake. She tries to commit to killing me and Seraphine. I'm able to exhaust her, and we're able to basically get a lot of damage down to her. She commits to killing us again, and this time we're able to just straight up kill her. And without her, there's no way the enemy team can get Elder Dragon, so we decide to go for the safe route. But before that, we're going to try to kill Yone. Yone actually survives on 1 HP. I try to ult where I think he will be. Unfortunately, he was not there. Was not able to get taken out by the ulti. Nautilus tries to go in. We're able to kill him. Varus whiffs the ult. Akali trying her best to carry her team. I'm going to let my team deal with it while I go forward and deal with the Varus. They all die. Only Yone is left alive, who managed to scamper off with 1 HP and recover health. So we don't even need the Elder Dragon, as I mentioned. We're just going to use the Baron in order to end the game, and there we have it. So I'm going to leave you guys with the stats as usual. Thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.